As of the time I'm recording this video, there's a story that's having a lot of online discussion, and I wanted to talk about it. And that is Amandla Stenberg calls out the Acolyte discourse and racism in social media music video. Amandla Stenberg has responded to the Acolyte discourse with a new music video she's shared on social media. It's been a long time since the Star Wars fandom has felt quite so divided, with the backlash against the Acolyte that's involved everything from review bombing on Rotten Tomatoes, review bombing, to death threats against Wikipedia editors. Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy and showrunner Leslie Hetland have made an open stand against racism and sexism, which they point to as a motivation for many online trolls. That's a lot of online trolls giving your show a 1 out of 5 if you think everyone is an online troll, and then saying racism. This is also what they said about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, people don't like Obi-Wan Kenobi because there's a black character, blah, 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 blah. It's not the first time we've had a black character in Star Wars. Black people did not ask for the Acolyte. I don't know who they think they're pleasing. To say that someone should enjoy a show because, it represents you, and if you don't like it, you are a racist, you are a bigot. It's such a stupid way to go about things. The show is just terrible. Sadly for me, as a person who runs a channel watching bad TV shows, I have had the terrible displeasure of having to watch The Acolyte and watch Rings of Power. And I have realized that these two shows are very similar. And in this video, I just wanted to point out the similarities between The Acolyte and Rings of Power. I even asked myself, did an AI write both of these shows? Because they have, at least in my opinion, 10 similarities, which I wanted to discuss in this video. I should point out though that I don't know why Disney always acts like they're doing black people a favor. Everybody who I know who's a Star Wars fan on my end thinks this show sucks. If they try and say, oh, it's only racists who don't like it, no, even the black people don't like it. I'm sure even lesbians don't like it. So I don't know who they're trying to appeal to and think that group of people, that group of minorities, should enjoy this show. Anyway, here are some of the similarities that I see between The Acolyte and Rings of Power. Number one, both of these shows are prequels, meaning that most of us were introduced to Lord of the Rings through the Peter Jackson films, at least for me. I'm referring mainly to the movies, not the novels. We were introduced to the world of Lord of the Rings through Peter Jackson films, which was set on the Third Age, and Rings of Power set in the Second Age. The Acolyte is the same way. It's the prequel before the prequels, right? Number two, both of these shows have very bad dialogue and very bad acting. I'm not saying every actor in all of these shows is a bad actor. Like in The Acolyte, the Squid Game guy is a very good actor. But wow, the dialogue is terrible. And this is coming from someone who doesn't even need to pick about things to do with dialogue. The dialogue is terrible in Rings of Power, it's terrible in The Acolyte. Also, especially like episode 3, you could notice the child actors were very bad. The lesbian witch coven people were just terrible in their acting. Number 3, both shows come off as very fan fiction-y. Both shows are written in a way as if a fan decided to write this terrible fan fiction that ruins the canon. Acolyte ruins the canon in many ways. I don't want to go into it. I'm sure there are many videos that explain how the Acolyte ruins the canon. And Rings of Power, as you know, ruins the canon of Lord of the Rings. So both shows come off as very fan fiction-y and ruining the canon. Number 4, both of these shows focus a lot on diversity, having black characters and also having girl bosses. That one doesn't have to be explained. If you've watched both shows, you know what I'm trying to say. Now, let's go to the writing. Number 5, both of these shows rely on mystery box writing, which means that both of these shows are trying to keep their audiences hooked based off of mystery boxes. For example, in The Acolyte, they're trying to be like, ooh, who's the Sith? Blah, 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 blah. And in Rings of Power, they were busy trying to be like, ooh, who's Sauron? Could it be this guy? Could it be that guy? Could it be this guy? This is a terrible way to try and keep your audience hooked, because it basically means that in the end, your show won't have any replayability. Once they know who the person is, you only get to milk that when the show is airing as the episodes release weekly. Once we know who it is, it doesn't have replay value, right? And the mystery box thing, it's in Rings of Power and it is in The Acolyte. Number 6, both shows have a very boring, fourth episode. That cannot be a coincidence. In The Acolyte, episode 4 is the most boring. Boring. I found, to me, episode 3 was not boring. But episode 4, as a person who has reviewed both shows, I found episode 4 to be the most boring. Even in Rings of Power, episode 4 to me was the most boring. It was the one that made me give up on Rings of Power. I nearly lost my mind trying to review Rings of Power, but episode 4 was the one that really hit me in the face. Number 7, similarity between both shows. They both have insane budgets. You even wonder where the money went. Something like Rings of Power, I think, was 1 billion the entire show. And in The Acolyte, each episode is what? I heard it's 20 million per episode times, I don't know, 9 becomes 180 million. That's movie budget level, right? Anyway, insane budgets, and you don't even know where the money is going. Number 8, similarity. Both shows focus on the whole master apprentice thing. So in The Acolyte, we have the master Sith and the Acolyte as the apprentice. And also in Rings of Power, we also have Morgoth. Morgoth is like the master and then his apprentice or his servant, Sauron. Yeah, and then they're busy trying to milk who is Sauron. Both shows have this similarity. Number 9, both shows have the theme of revenge. Yeah, Rings of Power is about Galadriel seeking revenge for someone who killed her brother. In The Acolyte, it's about the Acolyte trying to kill the Jedi because she believed her sister had died. Did you see the similarities, or am I the one who's reaching? You tell me. Tell me if I'm reaching. Tell me if I'm busy trying to clutch at straws that are not there. But I noticed these shows have a lot of similarities. And number 10, both shows have one of the main characters who's a female with a weak male. So in Rings of Power, it was Galadriel who had a weak male companion as Elrond, and in The Acolyte, we have the Acolyte having a male companion who looks like Ezra Miller, and he's also some weak, bumbling buffoon. To me, these shows are very similar in nature. I even wonder if the same AI wrote them. At the end of the day, both shows are pretty bad. You can tell me if you've watched both of them, you can tell me which one is worse. Episode 4 was so boring that I published a review of me being asleep. That's how much I really disliked episode 4. It was much better than episode 3, but it was just so boring. Nothing happened. And I was just like, oh my god, I don't even want to put effort into the review. So I just filmed myself sleeping. I'll leave it here. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash like and subscribe. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do you see the Acolyte as just Rings of Power but Star Wars? Tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. And then I'll leave those other videos for the Acolyte here in the comments. Give me your thoughts, and then I'll see you in the next one.